Good afternoon to everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you to make the presentation. So this presentation is called Between Local and Transnational Neighborhoods of Post-Soviet Greeks in Search of Cultural Affinity. And we are discussing here dimensions and conceptions of locality through the case of post-Soviet or former Soviet Union Greeks and their mobilities as mostly labor or return migrants, and the way transnationality affects the way people reflect on local, on transnational, on ethnic, or on cultural. We are focusing here on post-Soviet Greeks who live both outside Greece and outside Russia and its republics. A few words before we proceed for the background of this population. Since the fall of Soviet Union, more than 150,000 ethnic Greeks migrated to Greece from various regions of the ex-Soviet world. Mostly from the regions of Georgia, Abkhazia, and Kazakhstan. And it's very interesting to note here that the majority of Greeks, ethnic Greeks, originating from Russia and from Ukraine, they didn't migrate to Greece after the fall of the Soviet Union. So we focus mainly on a population coming from the region of Charka in Georgia. They form the majority of our informants in this research project. This population settled in Greece and mainly in Thessaloniki in the early 90s. In the beginning, in some marginal localities outside Thessaloniki, like Nikopoli and Evxenopoli, and also in some western suburbs, mostly, I'd say, some working class western suburbs of Thessaloniki, like Kordeio, Menemeni, and Evosmos. Many of them, among of these ex-Soviet Greeks, they used Greece as a transit state since they remigrated to other Western European countries or Cyprus shortly after the acquisition of a Greek passport, which could give them the opportunity to travel in other European Union countries. So in every place they migrated, they formed some small ethnic communities and diasporas, and they created social and economic networks which were based in common origin, but also on kinship and mainly on common language. And this is the first point we want to focus. The Russian language was used as a main lingua franca among these populations within them, and also in relation to other post-Soviet populations in their country of relocation. Among them, some of them were speaking also Urum, which is a Turkish dialect mainly spoken in the region of Charka. It is a characteristic that one of our informants in Germany insisted that speaking Russian is, after all, a characteristic that transcends many other elements like ethnicity or religion or origin. But the question is now, do we have to relate exclusively the use of a common language with the concept of locality, transnationality, and the production of affinity? So a first comment about affinity, the relations, let's say, between cultural and ethnic affinity, national affinity. The Greek post-Soviet diaspora feels part of a Greek global community. They consider Greece as their homeland, as their eternal homeland. Let's say the final destination of this journey from the ex-Soviet world. And they consider also the Pontic Greekness, the regions from Pontus that they came from, as the let's say the original version of this homeland, and the depository of some traditional values like patriarchy, family, orthodoxy, which constitute the epicenter of the Greek identity. So based on this, we could expect that sociability developed inside these communities should be characterized by closeness. However, as we are discussing here, FSU Greeks form different conceptions about locality, closeness, trust, a decision to migrate or not, to leave a country or not, based on various levels of affinity, which they develop with others. But the another question is, who can be considered as another in the case of post-Soviet Greeks? One kind of population is economic agents from the post-Soviet world. In our previous research project with Dimitri, we analyzed how the economic networks of post-Soviet Greeks were embedded into wider schemes of informal and cross-border transactions, which also implicated other post-Soviet migrants of other nationalities in Western European countries. Two examples here. Some business networks between Soviet, post-Soviet Germans and Greeks in the domain of the food industry, what we called Russian products. A second example is the general exchange of goods and people among different post-Soviet populations that led in a way to mixed marriages between Russians and post-Soviet Greeks and post-Soviet Germans, etc., which brought closer post-Soviet Greeks with other post-Soviet populations with whom they shared, of course, common language, the common Soviet past, common traditions in music, dance, etc. Of course, another characteristic was different, the various political worldviews, which are nowadays dominated, we could say, from Vladimir Putin's heteronationalism, from the imperial power of Russia, and the rise of a certain Russishness, which is observed not only in Greek post-Soviet populations, but also in German post-Soviet populations. So in this framework, we could say that all these exchanges between post-Soviet populations relocated the Pontic Greekness from the heart of a Greek ethnocentric nationalism to a more wider scheme of Eastern-oriented traditionalism, which, of course, a part of Greek migrants would also love to see implemented in the Greek political context. These commodities we suppose that were related to a kind of nostalgia and memorabilia of the Soviet world, as was expressed by a desire to consume Russian products, mainly until some years ago. Today, we can remark the extended usage of the consumption, let's say, of cultural goods like Russian social media or Russian TV, satellite TV, or Russian books in Greece, in Cyprus, in Germany, etc. So, in a way, we could conclude that this cultural affinity comes from this consumption of Russian goods in a way. And now I'm going to give the floor to Dimitris to continue on commenting about this the relation between consumption and cultural affinity.
In fact, we are about to talk about consumption, but I think here it is more important to clarify that we cannot assume that former Soviet Union Greeks sacrifice their Greekness for a post-Soviet cultural affinity. It would be a serious mistake. Often, in our case, the ways local and transnational practice of belonging, even this can be called post-Soviet, coexist with the imaginary of national belonging, recognizing still Greece as an historical homeland. Greekness first and Ponticness second may be seen as a global cultural identity, embedded in the wider Greek world. Here we have two different testimonies through which the terms local, national, and transnational are contested. Both of them come from Greece, post-Soviet Greece from Germany. And they put some contradictions. First of all is one informant, Georgi, who narrated us the migration of his family, as well as of his 50 compatriots from Thessaloniki, all males, to Hanover in Germany in 2015 as labor migrants in a Dutch company. The one migrant brought the other. It was that case. They started as a small family of 3 people, and then gradually the one brought the other. Repeating the cliche that his people would never go there to work for Greek gastarbeiters. You know, many of you that Greek, when they go to Germany, they avoid the Greek businessmen. They think that they're exploiting them. So he confirmed that post-Soviet migrants, even they did not work to Greek business, they were hanging out in Greek restaurants and in Greek taverns because they felt part of their Greekness. At the same time, they were buying Russian products from the local German post-Soviet grocery. At the same time, this informant mentioned that his family and close people finally returned to Greece after some years because he says that they feel better in homeland, mainly because of the quality of life and the weather. Something extremely important he mentioned was that the fact that this generation of former Soviet Union Greeks, those who were born in Georgia but repatriated as children, are keener to Western liberal ideas, are keener to free marriages, to European music and culture, in contrary to the previous generations who adopt more Eastern lifestyle. So here, if we interpret his words, the concept of locality as a decision to live permanently in a place is merely affected by affinities, but mostly by the equation idiosyncrasy and climate, and the imaginary liaison with the Greek territory, which means that local is conceived many times by national belonging. The contradictory testimony, another informant, Nikos, using again the example of Germany, expressed the way of some of his compatriots make business there, how they hang out with Russians from Germany more than Greeks, and how this is because the common language creates stronger affinities. That an imaginary connection with Greece and Hellenes, who treated them with racism when the first time came here, and that's because of their insistence to use Russian than Greek language in their everyday life. So for these people, conceiving locality means conceiving otherness in terms of language. Some examples of these affinities can be shown here in these pictures in Greek-Russian parties in Germany and Cyprus. I have collected some of them. And if you see these posters, for example, this Agapitos restaurant is in Cyprus, we have a Russian knight, for example, that is also a Pontic knight. In general, is a Russophone knight, or is a pro-Russian culture knight, where Armenians, Georgians, Greek, Pontic Greeks, and others who speak Russian go together, and from there we're developing the mixed marriages. And this is how it goes. Now, and the others are in Germany. In Offenbach, for example, we have also the four flags: the Russian, the Greek, the Georgian, and I think it's the Moldovan, if I remember well. This, if somebody can help with the fourth flag, the Moldovan one. So we have Nikos, a Greek, Alik, a guy from Moldova, Inver and Maria, etc., and Michalis, which is a group of musicians in another post-Soviet or something or Russophone night in Offenbach, as well as the other one and the other one. There are many, many. If you search in the social media, not the Facebook social media, the odnoklassniki social media, the kontakty social media, the Russian social media. These people prefer to enter these kind of social media than to Europe, to Western ones. Now, to conclude, and not to take the time of the others, what we try to show here a little bit is this complexity of terms of locality and cultural affinity in the case of former Soviet Union Greeks. The conception of locality and belonging is heavily affected by the possibility of using Russian as language in community relations and accessing Russian commercial and cultural goods. And while Greece is an uncontested imaginary and real destination, spatial and cultural affinity seem a constant negotiation of Ponticness, Russianness, and Greekness within the global post-Soviet space. Thank you for your attention. Tasos, thank you.